Five Nights at Freddy's is a franchise a lot of people know, a lot of people love, a lot of people hate, and a lot of people don't want to go near because of some parts of the fan base and because it takes a lot of lore to get into. There were some people who were into the bandwagon for the first year or so when games were coming out spontaneously within months, then fell off around FNaF World and sister locations. Some didn't even know there were games after that. Hell, there are people who think Golden Freddy was the suit used to kill the classic 5 kids to this day, and this video is meant for all of those people. The FNaF universe is in a pretty good place right now. We can finally solidify some parts of the series and have concrete characters and names, and honestly it's really cool and great, and I want people to enjoy this without binging the 37 game theory episodes, playing through all and finding all the really weird Easter eggs across the 9+ games, read the 3 novels, and 5, eventually 7 short story collections. This is the crash course of modern Five Nights at Freddy's. The first 2 games follow night guards in a Chuck E. Cheese style restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza with murderous animatronics that are trying to kill you. This is the running pattern across most games, with most games featuring some assortment of robots trying to get you. The third game follows a horror attraction based on the pizzerias you played in the first 2 games. The fourth game deals with horrific nightmare versions of animatronics being dreamt of for illusions or something along those lines, chasing a child in its bedroom. FNaF World's weird and we won't really get into it much, so I'm just going to kind of skip over it. It's an RPG. Sister location follows a technician in the titular underground sister location of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Circus Baby's Pizza World, in which you are just checking up on the robots, and they're going to kill you. In Pizzeria Simulator, you manage a restaurant while trying to complete tasks for your customers while robots try to kill you. Ultimate Custom is a literal hellscape of 50 robots trying to kill you constantly, forever, and always. In VR, you beta test an in-universe VR Freddy experience. And lastly, in FNaF AR, you deal with a constant cycle of invisible animatronics being delivered to your house that you have to survive and electrocute. While there are a cajillion animatronics in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe, most of them are just variations of the big important characters. There's Freddy Fazbear, the lead singer bear of the band, Bonnie the bunny, who plays guitar, Chica the chicken, who likes to eat, and the often out of commission Foxy the pirate fox. These are the base crew of the original game, or as I will call them for most of the rest of the theory, the classic crew. Next we have the ghastly and mysterious Golden Freddy, Fredbear, and Spring Bonnie. It's worth mentioning that Golden Freddy is just a broken down, abandoned version of Fredbear. One of the biggest players and most important characters in the series is the puppet, also known as the marionette. And, of course, the leader of the Funtime animatronic crew, Circus Baby. These are some of the most distinct and unique animatronics that are crucial to understanding the actual plot and flow and story of everything. So keep that in mind. Before we fully get into the lore, I want to make a disclaimer that this is mostly based off of the concrete, really solid theories we have and the outright things we see happen in the games. Only a few times do I inject to make the story and flow of everything a little bit better some of my own theories that I think are pretty plausible, and I can only think of 1 or 2 times that's ever happens in the script, so. Now, without further ado, our story begins in Fredbear's Family Diner. It's a restaurant, with titular Fredbear as its lead animatronic, designed by Henry Emily and William Afton. They're the owners of the diner. Henry has a daughter named Charlotte, or Charlie. William has 3 kids, Michael Afton, an unnamed kid known as the crying child in the community, or CC from here on out, and Elizabeth Afton. At some point, Fredbear spins off into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So now at this point, we reach the first big event in the series. Henry built a specific robot known as the security puppet to keep an eye on his daughter in one of the locations. But it was locked in its box as some bullies trapped Charlie outside, where she is then run over and killed by William Afton. Security bot wanders and crawls outside and progressively becomes more and more damaged by the rain. Its last efforts and move is hugging Charlie, just to try and give some comfort as it finally goes offline. Fueled by agony and now possessed by the soul of Charlie, the puppet is properly born. Henry, devastated by the loss of his daughter, is seemingly killed around this time, by the hands of an animatronic named Baby, which he plays a part in creating with Afton. William then makes the other Funtime animatronics, each with their own unique features and abilities to lure and trap kids. Though to William's surprise, at her first ever day performing in Circus Baby's Pizza World, Baby's programming causes her to kill Elizabeth. And like with Charlie, Elizabeth possesses Baby. Michael's been bullying Cece, who has seen something at Fredbear's that has caused him to be deathly afraid of the robots. Fredbear and Spring Bonnie are unique, as they're the only known Springlock suits. The Springlock suit can be switched between a wearable mascot by the employees to walk around the location, as well as a performing animatronic on stage. A unique risk of them, the springs are extremely prone to failure, which, in the case of, kills the wearer instantly. While what CC saw that caused him to be so afraid of the animatronics is still unknown, a particular theory is that he saw someone accidentally die inside of the Springlock suit. Whatever the cause, he's afraid of them, and on his birthday, Michael decides to play a little prank on him with some of his friends. They lift him up into the air and carry him over, right next to Fredbear's face. Panicking, flailing, and in tears, Cece accidentally moistens the Springlock suit, causing an instant malfunction. Fredbear's jaw violently shut on his head, lobotomizing him. Barely clinging on to life, Cece lies in a hospital, haunted by nightmarish versions of all the animatronics he once loved, then learned to fear. Eventually, he passes away in the hospital. These are the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Being distant from the location, but still linked from the bite, Cece's soul is now connected, but maybe not quite in control of Fredbear. Michael is filled with grief and regret, and his father goes on to use the Spring Bonnie suit to kill 5 children, starting with a girl named Susie whose dog had just been run over and taken for William's soul experiments. Along with her are the kids Gabriel, Jeremy, Fritz, and Cassidy, the tragic victims of the missing children's incident. It's Charlie as the puppet who carries each of the kids one by one into each of the original animatronics. Susie the Chica, Gabriel the Freddy, Jeremy the Bonnie, Fritz the Foxy, and the particularly spiteful and determined Cassidy is forced to share a body with Cece in the now decommissioned Fredbear, which from here on out will be renamed Golden Freddy, who is limited to exclusively apparitions in ghastly form, but is still deadly nonetheless. The location and time of the incident is not quite exactly known. Wherever and whenever we move on to the second Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the old animatronics have been scrapped in favor of newer, quote-unquote, toy animatronics, which have enhanced mobility and a full-on facial recognition system and a criminal database. The old set deemed simply too scary and sent to the back for parts. The new Foxy is a little unique from its other fellow toys. Kids couldn't quite keep their hands off of it, and ended up tearing the thing to pieces so many times the employees gave up putting it back together, and just made it a special take apart and put back together attraction. Among the staff, it becomes dubbed the Mangle, or just Mangle, which may hold the soul of Susie's dog within it. Unfortunately for the new night guard of the place, Jeremy Fitzgerald, he has to face the aggressive, almost animalistic, revenge-driven spirits of the original crew. The puppet, Golden Freddy, Mangle, and even the new toy animatronics, whose motives aside from Mangle are unknown, though it may just be a glitch regarding the facial recognition software. This is the setting of FNaF 2, in 1987 specifically. The new location doesn't last long, however. Jeremy's fate is unknown after he survived his first 6 days, and being moved to the day shift, he may have been lobotomized by an animatronic similar to how Cece was in an event referred to as the Bite of 87. An event first and briefly mentioned in FNaF 1. The exact details of are still unknown to this day. The 7th night of the second game involves someone else's night guard, interestingly, someone named Fritz Smith. Quick side note, it's likely that these names are original to FNaF 2 and not pre-planned to be the names of the kids, as the exact kids' names were revealed in FNaF 6. It's confusing, but don't think about it too much, it's more an homage. Fritz tampers with the animatronics. This seemingly has some sort of role to play in the vague incident which causes the new location to be shut down, the toy animatronics to be scrapped, and the old crew put back on stage in the new location, which prepares for the events of FNaF 1. Fritz was interestingly fired for tampering with the animatronics, obviously, as well as odor, a clear sign that he is an alias of Michael Afton. But we'll have to take a step back for that. Following some vague instructions of his father, Michael investigates Circus Baby's Pizza and Rental, particularly looking for his sister, now in the form of Baby. But Michael looks just a tad too much like his father, causing the animatronics, who have been experimented on and violently given shocks by William's staff, to target him in a desire and attempt for vengeance and escape. After being forced to complete vain tasks by Hand Unit, the software guide of the location, as well as Baby, Michael is eventually led to the scooping room. The scooper is a device created by Henry that rips out the inner workings of animatronics violently, leaving only the shell behind. Michael finds that each of the animatronics has intentionally done this to themselves to merge into one amalgam animatronic named Ennard. And now, Michael will be next, as he is their next shell, and he is their ticket for freedom. Ennard uses Michael as a literal skin suit to escape, though slowly Michael's skin rots away, and Ennard gives up their act and flees into the sewers. But there's an unintended consequence to their actions. The scooper was not just designed to extract animatronic parts. It also interacts with Remnant, a sort of soul energy that's the technical in-universe cause for the series' possessions. The Funtime crew, Baby especially, has unknowingly created their own worst enemy. Michael is now somewhat immortal. Even as a rotted corpse, he continues to undo his father's crimes. Another quick side note before we go to FNaF 1. The actual souls within the other Funtime animatronics, aside from Baby, are not exactly known. It seems to be maybe some spare parts from the original crew, or maybe a whole new set of victims from the shutdown of Circus Baby's Pizza World. Believed to be set around the 90s, FNaF 1 occurs. Michael is up to his old trick of tampering with the animatronics to get the place shut down. Whether it be from Michael's efforts or just bad publicity, the place is closed. William enters the remains of the old location. He finds the animatronics and lures each one of them to the back room, where he dismantles them, unknowingly freeing their souls. Even without their bodies, they manage to corner him. In an act of desperation, he hides within the suit that he used to kill them all those years ago. He laughs at them, but the moisture of the room, combined with the jittering movement, causes one gruesome spring-lock failure. William slowly and painfully bleeds to death. His soul and remnant attached to the suit, keeping him alive, but trapped in the safe room for years, jostling, waiting, trapped by the spirits who haunted him. Until someone finds the room and takes the suit with them. Unknowingly, they have also brought William with them. Michael picks up a job for some sort of horror-themed attraction called Fazbear Frights, based on all the spooky rumors and stories of the restaurant's past. He's there to be the night guard character as well as the actual night guard of the place. It's on his second night that he's informed of and sees their big new attraction, a withered, damaged Spring Bonnie animatronic, very much functional and active despite its decayed state. A battle of father and son, a giant game of cat and mouse. Charlie does her best to wrest the still active souls and spirits of the original crew, currently hunting Michael as hallucinations under the same identity fallacy as the Funtime crew did. And succeeds, putting Cece to rest, giving him the birthday party he always wanted all those years ago, and with him, all of the original crew. Michael decides to end this, once and for all, lighting the entire building on fire, trying to take William with it, but to no avail. This leaves the following at large. Baby, who in the time gap has split off from the other parts of Ennard because of her controlling personality and more praiseful mindset of her father. Molten Freddy, the remainder of the Ennard crew now swinging the lead, or at least using the voice of Funtime Freddy. Charlie the Puppet, who is trapped inside a new animatronic named Lefty, though still seems to be able to control it. And of course, the man who always comes back, who's about an arm lighter from his last fiery encounter. A new franchising opportunity for becoming a restaurant owner, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, is brought to attention and accepted by Michael. Full of familiar voice of Hand Unit now a destroyer unit in a mysterious consent, but all of the remaining enjoy it. On Saturday, he has done so. Setman reveals himself as Henry, who had faked his death.
You played right into our hands. Did you really think that this job just fell out of the sky for you? No. This was a gift for us. You gathered them all together in one place, just like he asked you to. All of those little souls in one place, just for us. A gift. Now we can do what we were created to do and be complete. I will make you proud, Daddy. Watch, listen, and be full.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name. But I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called. You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, no one was there to lift you up into their arms, the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
And in hell, William suffers indeed, dragged into some purgatory-like nightmare by Cassidy in the game Ultimate Custom Night, doomed to be haunted and tormented by all the animatronics and monsters he had made over the years. And thus, we're at the end of the Afton saga of FNaF, the story of Michael and his struggle against his own father, all the sins, grief, and misfortune they have brought with them. But something remains. It always does. The remainder of Faz Inc. hires an indie developer to make games to cover up and make light of the incidents. But the intrigue only grows. In pressure, they hire a company to make an official VR game using authentic circuit boards and routines as reference. The initial development staff finds something interesting, however. It's a character no one programmed in. It doesn't act like anyone else. It doesn't move like anyone else. It can think, it can talk, it can see. It's aware. From his encounters and experiences with the creature, the beta tester Jeremy cuts off his own face with a paper guillotine slicer. Some other staff member starts making logs in her final days picking up Jeremy's work, as the company gets sued and a new one is slated to take over.
Hello. You don't know me. I had created a series of logs for you documenting the troubled development of this VR game that you're now testing, in hopes that you, whoever you are, and whatever team you are with, will abandon development. Now I fear that those logs are being used as a Trojan horse. If you are unable to abandon development, hide all traces of these logs that I've created. I fear that finding them and reassembling them will also reassemble the very thing I've tried so desperately to destroy.
Somehow, the logs start shifting in focus from how the virus can't be removed easily, and how all the tape should never be assembled, to how collecting all of them and performing specific actions let you delete it.
There is a way to kill it. It wants to escape through someone plugged into this game. That's, you know. You have to let it begin the process of leaving through you. Then use the disconnect switch that I've embedded by the main stage. Let it approach you. Let it begin to merge with you. Play the music and flip the switch. That will cause a hard restart of the game and flush the memory, effectively killing it. I hope. I don't know when it will come for you.
Something suspicious has happened, but we don't know exactly what. But someone is fooled by this. Vanessa, the curious new beta tester from the new company, is lured in by this, and GlitchTrap does something to her.
Yes, I hear you. I know. No. There's no miscommunication. I understand. Yes, I have it. I made it myself. I think you would like it. No one suspects anything. Don't worry. I'll be ready. And I won't let you down. It will be fun.
Over the course of emails found in a mobile AR game special delivery, she's described as becoming creepier, searching things like how much of a human can be cut off before they die. She makes her own custom rabbit mask, as well as a full-on suit. A full-on new personality. She is the new killer of the franchise, the successor to William Afton, Vanny. Alright, to end the dramatics, this brings us to the present. There's a new game coming out, Security Breach. We just got a trailer for it. It features some new glam rock 80s style animatronics in a giant pizzaplex, in which Vanny seems to be invading. The first 3 Five Nights at Freddy's books are kind of set in their own universe and canon and storyline, but are still loosely related to the main series and have crossover points. They're more like, hey, names can come from this book, use it in the main series. They aren't that important to read and get into the series. The Fazbear Frights are more just confirmation short story collections. They help solidify ideas, and really tie into both canons. And they also introduce a character called the Stitch Wraith, who's weird, and they play a role in the new game, we don't know. And that's pretty much it. You can now keep up with the new MatPat theories and games and enjoy the series as I have, and many others. I only added 1 or 2 of my own theories, the happiest day being for CC is something I've made up, basically, but it really fits in the series, so I'm just going to put it in there and it makes a good story, so, hey. And leave a dislike to prove you paid attention. Only really subscribe if you really want to listen to more of my voice. It's really grating. I stumble a lot, as you clearly can see. This video was really hard to make because of that. I don't really have a good voice for storytelling like this. But hey, I hope you enjoyed.